Battle through the heavens. Xiao Yan nodded his head and agreed. This caused everyone, including Feng Qing'er, to be stunned for a moment. This matter was not child's play. If that thing was really found, it was likely that Xiao Yan would appear on the blacklist of the Heaven Demon Phoenix tribe. A worried expression appeared in Feng Zunja's eyes. He looked at Xiao Yan as he asked in a deep voice, "Is it all right?" "Huh, old Feng, please relax. One need not be afraid of one's shadow being crooked if one stands straight. I have seen many little tricks of falsely accusing someone after they have lost. This is nothing surprising." Xiao Yan smiled, nodded, and reassured him. Feng Zunja felt a lot more reassured after hearing Xiao Yan's words. Since he dared to speak in this manner, it was likely that he had some confidence. Feng Qing'er by the side was extremely infuriated by Xiao Yan's words. Her pretty face wore a cold smile as she said, "You can just act tough. If I end up finding it later, I will definitely let you suffer the consequences." The corner of Xiao Yan's mouth was lifted into an unusual smile. He softly said, "If you fail to find anything, Miss Feng might have to apologize to me in public." Feng Qing'er's eyes were ice cold. She let out a cold snort as she bit her finger. A droplet of bright red blood fell from it and was immediately suspended in front of her. It vaguely emitted a strange glow in the process. Feng Qing'er's face was frosty. Her finger led the droplet of blood to form a mysterious seal. With a toss of her hand, the seal paused above Xiao Yan's head. A circular red-colored luster was emitted from it as it slowly wrapped around Xiao Yan's body. Xiao Yan clearly sensed an unusual energy when his body was covered by the red-colored light barrier. It was slowly scanning his body, and he vaguely felt as though someone was snooping around. Xiao Yan's face was completely impassive through this. However, he was laughing coldly in his heart. For him to be bold enough to allow Feng Qing'er to search him in public, it was only natural that he was confident that he could hide the ancient phoenix essence blood. The red-colored glow slowly spread through Xiao Yan's body. It specifically scanned the ring on his hand multiple times, but not even the hint of an unusual phenomenon appeared. This caused Feng Qing'er's face to appear uglier. Feng Zunja by the side sighed in relief within his heart when he saw Feng Qing'er's expression. The search continued for some time before the red glow finally began to disappear. The seal had also transformed into a red ray of light that was absorbed into the green-faced Feng Qing'er's body. "Miss Feng, has there been any results?" Xiao Yan glanced at Feng Qing'er as he inquired. "Where have you hidden the ancient phoenix essence blood?" Feng Qing'er clenched her silver teeth. Her appearance was as though she desperately wanted to pounce over and strip Xiao Yan, conducting a complete search over him. She had clearly sensed the existence of the ancient phoenix essence blood earlier. However, the result of her search had caused her to suffer a great blow. Her searching skill was extremely sensitive to the ancient phoenix essence blood. Seldom was there any situation where it would be wrong. The expression of Feng Zunja by the side sank. He cried out in a cold voice, "Feng Qing'er, don't think that this venerable self, Dou Zun, cannot do anything to you just because you are a member of the Heaven Demon Phoenix tribe. If you continue to stir trouble, do not blame this venerable self, Dou Zun, for not giving the Heaven Demon Phoenix tribe any face." Feng Qing'er's pretty face changed a little when she heard Feng Zunja cold cry. Lei Zunja by the side could only step forward when he saw this. "Qing'er, the matter today might be just a misunderstanding. But..." Feng Qing'er became anxious. She was about to retort when she saw Lei Zunja knit his eyebrows. All she could do was swallow her words. Ultimately, she was Lei Zunja's disciple. She had no choice but to obey his words. Moreover, She knew that with Feng Zunjie protecting Xiao Yan, the matter today was likely hopeless. If she were able to find the ancient phoenix blood on Xiao Yan's body, she would be able to say something. With the reputation of the Heaven Demon Phoenix tribe, it was likely that even Feng Zunjie would have to weigh his options a little. Unfortunately, Feng Qing was furious in her heart. In the end, all she could do was viciously stare at Xiao Yan as she coldly said, "I will not simply just drop this matter." Xiao Yan smiled. He replied in a light voice, "Miss Feng seems to have forgotten something. As chief disciple of the Wind Lightning Pavilion, I think that you despise people who go back on their word, no?" Feng Qing's face immediately turned green when she heard this. Her hand was clenched, emitting a cracking sound as it did so. Only a long while later did she forcefully say a couple of words from her mouth, "I'm sorry." Xiao Yan grinned. He was too lazy to continue getting entangled with this woman. He took a step back and withdrew behind Feng Zunjie. Feng Zunjie sighed in relief after seeing this matter come to an end. He smiled to Lei Zunjie and said, "Cuckoo, the result of the match is already known. According to our prior agreement, the grudge between Xiao Yan and the Wind Lightning Pavilion will be written off, right?" The corner of Lei Zunjie's mouth twitched a little. Although his heart was filled with fury, he would naturally not swallow his own words in public given his status. All he could do was stiffly nod his head. A lightning glow flickered through his eyes as he stared at Xiao Yan intently. He said, "On account of Feng Zunjie, I shall not take you to task for the matter between you and the Wind Lightning Pavilion. However, I hope that you know what is good for yourself in the future. If the 3000 lightning movement is leaked by you, this venerable self, Dou Zun, will personally kill you." Xiao Yan merely smiled in the face of Lei Zunjie's words that contained a hidden threat. He cupped his hands together and said, "Lei Zunjie, please rest assured." Feng Zunjie by the side glanced at the ugly face of Lei Zunjie. He grinned as his eyes looked all around him and laughed, "Lei Zunjie is really magnanimous. However, it is likely that the 4-pavilion grand meeting will have difficulty continuing today. In terms of strength, the Wind Lightning Pavilion is indeed much stronger. In that case, it seems that this season's leader spot is still retained in the hands of the Wind Lightning Pavilion." Lei Zunjie's expression became slightly warmer when he heard Feng Zunjie's words. Jian Zunjie and Huangquan Zunjie could only nod their heads after a brief moment of hesitation. Tang Ying was definitely no match for Feng Qing. Wang Chen, on the other hand, had already been crippled by Xiao Yan from the start. How could he fight with others? "Cuckoo, since the grand meeting is over, the old me shall not stay any longer. I will come and visit if I have time in the future," Feng Zunjie laughed. He cupped his hands to Lei Zunjie. After which, he waved his hand and a wild wind rose around him. Immediately, the wind affinity energy around them began to automatically gather. Finally, it formed an enormous wind eagle in front of an innumerable number of eyes. "Let's go." Feng Zunjie beckoned with his hand. His body moved and he leaped onto the enormous eagle. Mu Qingluan followed closely behind. After beckoning Lin Yan, who was a short distance away, to follow, he leaped onto the large eagle. Jian Zunjie and Huangquan Zunjie bid Lei Zunjie goodbye after watching the enormous eagle disappear. Finally, they grabbed their disciples and swiftly left the Lightning Mountain. After Jian Zunjie left, only the people from the Wind Lightning Pavilion were left behind. Only at this moment, did Lei Zunjie's expression completely become gloomy. His eyes turned to Feng Qing as he asked, "Did you really sense the ancient phoenix essence blood earlier?" "I'm definitely right. However, I am also unaware of why I am unable to find it." Feng Qing nodded and spoke with absolute certainty. Lei Zunjie slightly nodded. He immediately spoke in a sinister manner, "You should return and report this matter to the Heaven Demon Phoenix tribe. At that time, the experts in your clan will definitely intervene and capture Xiao Yan. If the people from the Falling Star Pavilion stop them, it should not be difficult for the Heaven Demon Phoenix tribe to finish them off given its strength." Feng Qing hesitated for a moment when she heard this. Finally, she clenched her silver teeth and nodded. "Since you refuse to cripple your 3,000 lightning movement yourself, I shall cause you to be unable to use any other Dou skills in the future." A cold expression surfaced on Lei Zunja's face. His soft mumbling was filled with a killing intent that caused those few people around to tremble. Fierce wind suddenly rose in the serene blue sky. An enormous eagle carried a lightning storm as it flew. On the back of the eagle sat a couple of figures. Xiao Yan was among them. At this moment, Xiao Yan was seated cross-legged on the back of the eagle. His gaze looked in the direction of the lightning mountain and found that it had disappeared. His tensed heart finally relaxed. Immediately, he clenched his teeth and a jade-green flame was fiercely burning on his hand. "What is it?" Feng Zunja's figure instantly appeared beside Xiao Yan as he asked in surprise. Xiao Yan did not reply. His eyes were staring intently at the burning flame in his hand. Droplets of green-red blood were mixed in the rising flame. This blood, that contained a shocking energy ripple, was slowly being forced out. Feng Zunja, Mu Qingluan, and Lin Yan revealed a shocked expression when they saw this. Xiao Yan had hidden this thing in the heavenly flame earlier. No wonder it was not detected. The jade-green flame fiercely burned. A high temperature spread from it, causing the surrounding fierce wind to become much hotter as a result. However, no one paid any attention to this. The eyes of Feng Zunja and the others were merely staring at the interior of the flame. There were 3 droplets of red-green blood rotating inside. It is indeed the ancient phoenix essence blood. Moreover, the color is so dense. It is likely that it can only be refined from the blood of some heaven demon phoenix who have reached the Dou Zun class. Mu Qingluan's pretty face changed by the side when she saw the 3 droplets of green-red blood. At the same time, she also let out an exclamation. She was a member of the mythical bird tribe. Although her tribe could not be compared with the heaven demon phoenix tribe, she did have a great understanding of their tribe. Hence, she was able to see just how precious these 3 droplets of green-red blood were at a glance. Even the expression of Feng Zunja changed when he heard Mu Qingluan's words. A Dou Zun class heaven demon phoenix. Such a strength would definitely be ranked among those old demons, who would not die, even within the heaven demon phoenix tribe. How was it possible for this ancient phoenix essence blood to land in Xiao Yan's hands? However, it is fortunate that it was not discovered earlier. Otherwise, it would likely have been really troublesome. A Dou Zun class ancient phoenix essence blood is sufficient to get the heaven demon phoenix to mobilize their forces. The both of you must not leak this matter to anyone. Feng Zunja's expression had become much more solemn. His eyes revealed a sternness. Mu Qingluan and Lin Yan nodded when they heard these words. They clearly understood just what kind of trouble it would bring Xiao Yan if this matter were to spread. The ancient phoenix essence blood has already been forced out by Xiao Yan. Why is it that his expression, Lin Yan's eyes swept over Xiao Yan's face as he suddenly asked with some hesitation. Feng Zunja and Mu Qingluan also threw their eyes toward Xiao Yan when they heard this. They did indeed see that his face was blood-red in color. His body's temperature was also frighteningly hot. There was a bitter expression between his brows. It was as though he was resisting something. There is more than just these 3 drops of ancient phoenix essence blood. The remainder should still be in his body. However, it seems that he cannot force them out. Feng Zunja's sharp eyes swiftly sensed the problem, and he explained it in a deep voice. What should we do? Lin Yan became anxiously as he hurriedly asked. The interior of the ancient phoenix essence blood contains the strength of the heaven demon phoenix tribe's bloodline. It is impossible for an ordinary person to absorb it. After all, the constitution of a human is far inferior to that of a heaven demon phoenix. If one forcefully absorbs it, it is likely that one might end up bursting apart. The only thing that we can do now is to help force out the remaining ancient phoenix essence blood within his body. Mu Qingluan spoke with a bitter smile. There is no way to force it out. Earlier, Xiao Yan hid the ancient phoenix essence blood inside the heavenly flame to avoid Feng Qin Air's search. However, the heavenly flame's temperature is extremely high. It has caused some of the ancient phoenix essence blood's energy to spread. Now, it has basically spread all over his body. It is already impossible to completely force it out. Feng Zunzhe shook his head as he revealed another problem. Mu Qingluan spread her hands when she heard this. She was helpless if this was the case. Let's take a look at the situation first. Feng Zunzhe voiced his thoughts. If he were to randomly intervene in the matter now, it was likely that he would only add to the problem. Hence, it was best to first see if Xiao Yan could rely on his own strength to force this ancient phoenix essence blood out of his body. While the three of them were conversing, Xiao Yan's skin was becoming boiling hot. Its color had also turned blood red. At a glance, he appeared just like a frightening blood person. Damn it! Xiao Yan's mind tried its best to suppress the uprising within his body as he quietly cursed. Originally, he had refined 5 droplets of green-red blood from the magical beast dried corpse. After using 1 droplet when refining a medicinal pill in the inner academy, he only had 4 droplets remaining. He had forced out 3 droplets earlier. In other words, there was still 1 droplet of green-red blood remaining in his body. The main culprit of turning his body into such chaos was this drop of damn green-red blood. The green-red blood had completely split apart when it was in the heavenly flame earlier. After which, it transformed into numerous violent energies that spread apart and randomly charged about within Xiao Yan's body. I don't believe that I am unable to subdue you after having managed to refine you. Xiao Yan viciously grit his teeth as he studied the chaotic situation within his body. A thought passed through his mind and spiritual strength surged from between his brows. After which, it wildly invaded his body and forcefully chased the scattered energy in a certain direction. Simply waiting for the wild energy to scatter more would only cause his internal injuries to become more and more serious. Hence, he needed to gather the scattered energy together and completely finish them off in a clean sweep. Spiritual strength randomly moved through every part of his body without tiring, doing its best to chase down the green-red, wild energy. Despite the great exhaustion of his spiritual strength, it was quite effective. In less than 10 minutes, the green-red energy, that had scattered throughout his body, had been gathered together, transforming into a palm-sized green-red energy cluster. Xiao Yan sighed in relief within his heart as he observed this cluster of violent energy, that had been gathered together. He immediately sighed in relief. A thought passed through his mind and the jade-green flame surged out, turning into a fire cauldron. It coincidentally wrapped the cluster of energy inside it. The fire cauldron had just wrapped the energy cluster when a frighteningly high temperature seeped from it. The green-red energy seemed to have sensed some danger when the high temperature rose. It scattered apart, transforming into a countless number of clusters that shot in all directions. However, the fire cauldron at this moment had already become extremely tough under the control of Xiao Yan's mind. Hence, the green-red energies were reflected back when they knocked into the fire cauldron, becoming a chaotic cluster. When these wild and violent energies turned to chaos, the fire cauldron's high temperature swiftly rose. The frighteningly high temperature gradually caused the tiny green-red energy seeds to gradually turn into nothingness. Finally, it transformed into a wisp of green-red fog and slowly drifted out of the fire cauldron. The green-red fog no longer showed the violent and untamable properties in it after being refined by the glazed lotus heart flame. Instead, it gently drifted out and merged into his bones, veins, muscles, cells. Following the merger of this green-red fog in his body, Xiao Yan was surprised to find that everything in his body seemed to have been given a strength enhancer at this moment. Their strength and toughness was slowly raising. This ancient phoenix essence blood is indeed a great spiritual medicine for raising the strength of one's body. However, it is likely that the effect would have been even better if it had been used to refine a medicinal pill. Xiao Yan let out a quiet sigh within his heart as he sensed the change in his body. Immediately, he felt somewhat regretful. Of course, this kind of regret naturally disappeared immediately after it appeared. The current Xiao Yan also understood that it was indeed not easy to absorb such ancient phoenix essence blood. If he didn't possess the glazed lotus heart flame, it was likely that the interior of his body would have turned into a mess because of the ancient phoenix essence blood. Due to the repeated refinement of the glazed lotus heart flame, green-red fog repeatedly seeped out of the top of the fire cauldron. This momentum showed signs of it gradually becoming denser. Body explosion. Xiao Yan suddenly trembled when he thought of this. He instantly recovered from the joy of having his physical body being strengthened. This kind of green-red fog did indeed possess an exceptionally great effect and it came to strengthening one's body. However, if one were to absorb too much of it, it would likely become a disaster. Xiao Yan's mind entered the fire cauldron. At this moment, there were still 2/3 left of the green-red energy cluster. Just 1/3 made Xiao Yan feel like his body wouldn't be able to endure. If the remainder was completely absorbed by his body, it was likely that his body would really explode. Xiao Yan's heart felt a chill when he thought of this. However, if he did not completely refine this ancient phoenix essence blood in this situation, it would randomly dart around his body. The harm it would cause would also be quite great, yet if he continued the refinement, his body would be unable to endure such wild, violent energy at his current strength. At this moment, Xiao Yan had undoubtedly entered a dilemma. While Xiao Yan was hesitating, the refinement within the fire cauldron did not come to a stop. Wave after wave of green-red fog curled and rose up, covering every inch of Xiao Yan's body in that fog. Xiao Yan mournfully discovered that his body was gradually beginning to be unable to absorb any more while the green-red fog permeated it. However, the green-red fog could not be bothered with all this. It still continuously invaded Xiao Yan's body. Xiao Yan's body gradually began to show signs of a swelling pain following the repeated entry of the green-red fog. Xiao Yan softly sighed as he sensed the vague pain that appeared in his swollen muscles. Damn it, I have overdone it this time around. On the enormous fierce wind eagle, Lin Yan watched Xiao Yan's body as the blood-red color gradually diminished. He let out a sigh of relief. It seemed that he was gradually absorbing the ancient phoenix essence blood within his body. This fellow is actually absorbing the ancient phoenix essence blood. Mu Qingluan by the side was startled when she saw this scene. She immediately voiced her surprise. Feng Zunjia slightly nodded. Although there was no change in Xiao Yan's aura, he was still able to sense his strength increasing by relying on the sharp senses of an elite Dozun. The ancient phoenix essence blood does possess a great effect in raising the strength of a person's body. However, once the body is unable to endure that kind of strengthening, it is likely that it will end up exploding. Mu Qingluan knit her eyebrows as she softly said. All test NOVL on novelben/.cm. Lin Yan was startled when he heard this. Immediately, the expression in his eyes changed while he was looking at Xiao Yan. He hurriedly said, "It seems that something is not quite right." Feng Zunzhe and Mu Qingluan quickly turned their eyes to Xiao Yan when they heard his voice. They could see that Xiao Yan's body was vaguely showing signs of swelling. "It is really the case of what I said coming true," Mu Qingluan bitterly laughed when she saw this scene. She sighed, "Xiao Yan's body is unable to absorb so much ancient phoenix essence blood. This is the forewarning of the explosion of one's body." Feng Zunzhe's expression changed slightly. He stepped forward and appeared beside Xiao Yan's body. His hand was extended, but it was hurriedly stopped by Mu Qingluan by the side. Currently, the interior of Xiao Yan's body is in a full state. If any other energy is inserted, it is likely that his body will immediately burst apart. Feng Zunzhe intently frowned. He said in a deep voice, "If this continues, he will sooner or later end up dying from his body bursting apart because of that ancient phoenix essence blood." Mu Qingluan bitterly laughed as she said, "No one knows if he has any other tactics. If we were to randomly intervene, it is likely that we will make matters worse." Feng Zunzhe hesitated for a moment upon hearing this. All he could do, however, was to withdraw his hand. He looked at Xiao Yan's swelling body, clenched his teeth, and said, "If he still doesn't have any solution after some time, I can only intervene." Only the people from the Heaven Demon Phoenix tribes possess the ability to completely absorb the bloodline strength within the ancient Phoenix essence blood. If they absorb it, they will be able to cause every part of their body or their bloodline to become even purer. However, if a human were to absorb it, the process will be filled with danger. "I don't know if I should say that this fellow is too bold or ignorant," Mu Qingluan nodded. Her eyes looked at Xiao Yan, who was continuing to swell, as she muttered to herself. The fierce winged eagle flapped its enormous wings, circling in the sky. The surrounding wild gale separated a great distance away, causing a quiet space to appear on the back of the enormous eagle. Feng Zunzhe's eyes stared intently at Xiao Yan's swollen body. His fingers had already slowly curled involuntarily under his sleeves. Wave after wave of spiraling wind, that emitted some sharpness, appeared. Who? Xiao Yan's body had swelled to his limit within a couple of breaths' time. The small blood vessels on his skin had started to burst apart. Fresh blood seeped out, making him look like a terrifying blood person. Feng Zunzhe was unable to endure it any longer when he saw Xiao Yan in this state. He inhaled a deep breath of air and slowly raised his hand. A majestic natural energy agglomerated with lightning-like speed. He intended to force out the ancient phoenix essence blood from within Xiao Yan's body. Mu Qingluan could only sigh softly when she saw that Feng Zunzhe was about to intervene. Thus, it was likely that Xiao Yan would suffer an extremely serious injury even if his life could be saved. Moreover, the ancient phoenix essence blood could also be considered to have been completely wasted. The gathering of the energy became swifter and fiercer. An instant later, it was suddenly formed. Feng Zunzhe's face was as deep as water. His sleeve was waved and was just about to transfer that energy into Xiao Yan's body when he suddenly opened his eyes. Feng Zunzhe was startled when he saw Xiao Yan open his eyes. The majestic energy in his hand also stopped as a result. Xiao Yan, who had opened his eyes, swiftly formed some seals with his hands. Soon after, he let out a deep cry. A muffled sound could be heard by Feng Zunzhe and the two others as a pair of 10-foot-large gem-like bone wings swiftly spread apart. Xiao Yan's body had strangely ceased swelling when the bone wings appeared. Wave after wave of green-red energy, visible to the naked eye, followed Xiao Yan's skin and swiftly flowed. They poured into the bone wings on Xiao Yan's back in a lightning-like manner. The green-red energy stretched the size of this pair of bone wings by over 2 times. Moreover, the dense green-red lines also caused the bone wings to possess a mysterious feeling. They were gently flapped as a low, deep sonic boom immediately resounded over the place. A wild wind also spread out. With the bone wings absorbing the overbearing, violent, green-red energy, Xiao Yan's swelling body swiftly shrank. Within a short couple of breaths' time, he had returned to his normal size. Although his body was still covered with fresh blood, the painful expression on his face had gradually disappeared. Feng Zunjie and the two others were a little stunned when they saw the enormous bone wings on Xiao Yan's back, especially when they heard the sound made from its flapping. The shock on their faces became even denser. This is Heaven Demon Phoenix Wings. Mu Qingluan's eyes stared at the pair of bone wings on Xiao Yan's back. A moment later, she finally inhaled a breath of cold air as she uttered those words. Yes, you should be right. Back then, I also saw some of the old demons from the Heaven Demon Phoenix tribe using them. Although this pair of wings belonging to Xiao Yan does not have any phoenix feathers, the scent on it is similar to that of the Heaven Demon Phoenix wings. Feng Zunjie slowly nodded. Even with his mental strength, his face involuntarily revealed some shock upon seeing that Xiao Yan possessed a pair of Heaven Demon Phoenix wings. This fellow, don't tell me he killed a member of the Heaven Demon Phoenix tribe. Otherwise, how is it possible for him to possess the ancient Phoenix Essence blood and this pair of Heaven Demon Phoenix wings? If the Heaven Demon Phoenix tribe becomes aware of this, it is likely that they will dispatch experts to kill Xiao Yan. Mu Qingluan gradually withdrew the shock on her face as she muttered. Only now did she feel that this disciple of her teacher's old friend, who had suddenly appeared, was very mysterious. Xiao Yan's tightly shut eyes twitched while the two of them were speaking. Soon after, Xiao Yan slowly opened them and saw Feng Zunjie's group who were looking at him. He bitterly laughed, I'm sorry. I did not expect things to end up like this. Are you alright? Feng Zunjie shook his head and asked. Xiao Yan stood up and clenched his fist. A torrent-like overwhelming strength immediately surged through his limbs and bones. This kind of comfortable feeling caused Xiao Yan to involuntarily let out a howl to the sky. The howl rumbled. There was a vague dragon roar and phoenix cry within it that shook one's heart. Phoenix cry. Dragon roar. Feng Zunjie's heart immediately trembled when he heard this howl. His eyes were somewhat strange as he looked to Xiao Yan. He said, Phoenix cry and dragon roar. These are top sonic waves in the world. If used together with a sonic wave Dou technique, their strength will be extremely great. Unexpectedly, you possess both together. Xiao Yan was similarly startled. That little dragon's roar had originated from the yin-yang mysterious dragon pill back then. As for this phoenix cry, could it be because of that ancient phoenix essence blood? You should hide these Heaven Demon Phoenix wings first. Try your best to avoid using them in the future. Otherwise, should the Heaven Demon Phoenix tribe discover them, you will likely be faced with great trouble, Feng Zunjie reminded. Xiao Yan's eyes rolled when he heard this. He was startled when he saw that the bone wings had transformed. The bone wings were gently flapped, and he could see wild wind surging from them. A low sonic boom was formed under the wings. It was just like the noise from a cannon that caused one to feel shaken. The bone wings have become so much stronger. I think that their speed should have increased quite a lot. Looks like the remaining ancient phoenix essence blood has been absorbed by them. Joy surged in Xiao Yan's heart as he sensed the strength of the current bone wings. If he were to use the 3000 lightning movement in addition, it was likely that even Fei Tian would no longer be able to catch up with him. This skin of mine could likely even be compared with some magical beasts. This ancient phoenix essence blood is indeed good stuff for refining one's flesh. If I take a little more, will it turn me into a magical beast? Xiao Yan mocked. Although there was no increase in the Dou Qi, his physical body was much stronger than before. In other words, his endurance had also become much greater. If he were to fight head-on when battling others in the future, he would likely be able to gain a great advantage. Feng Zunzhe sighed in relief after seeing that Xiao Yan found nothing amiss during his detailed check of his body. Immediately, his eyes stared at Xiao Yan as he slowly said, "Little fellow, since you are fine, can you tell me where your teacher is?" Xiao Yan's fist suddenly tightened when he heard this question from Feng Zunzhe.